Welcome back to Little Orphan Annie and the $1 Million Formula. Chapter 6. J. Gordon Slugg. The vicious and unscrupulous J. Gordon Slugg had been watching the progress of Daddy Warbucks' factories as closely as had he. His spies kept him informed of every move. Interested only in gaining wealth and power for himself, he was already thinking over various schemes to get control of that formula. Annie had heard Daddy and Eli talking about Slugg and was very much interested. "Gee, Daddy," she asked, "is this J. Gordon Slugg really so tough?" "I'll say he is," exclaimed Daddy, looking up from his work as she leaned over his big desk. "He's an unscrupulous vandal." "But he didn't really try to have old Eli Eon killed, did he?" "I believe he did, Annie. He wouldn't stop at anything to gain what he wants. We must look out for him." "Say," said the girl, wonderingly, as he rose from his chair, "you're wearing a gun. And you've hired a lot more guards. I've never knew you to be so scared before." "Scared? Me? I'm not scared. But the best way to avoid trouble is to be prepared, just in case." Together they walked out onto the balcony overlooking the grounds. "The plant is rising, as if by magic," remarked Daddy. "Even so, it can't be finished too soon. Slugg is liable to strike any moment. We must get production started." J. Gordon Slugg, at that very moment, was stepping into his vehicle, saying to himself, "I could snap up the whole thing for $100 million and save any argument. Old Baldy would have probably been glad to accept. But first I'll slip over here and have a good look at the plant. I may decide to shove him out without a nickel." Annie had left Daddy, again, busy at his desk, and was walking carelessly down the road with Sandy, enjoying the peace and quiet. Without warning, an automobile swooped around the corner. "Look out, Sandy! Jump!" screamed Annie, suiting her action to her word. Yelped the dog as he leaped to the other side. As she landed, Annie had just time to turn and see who was sitting behind the driver of the car, which had nearly hit them. "Leaping lizards!" she shouted, pointing after the car. "Know who that was, Sandy?" "That must have been J. Gordon Slugg. Daddy showed me his picture in a newspaper." "Yes, sir. It was Slugg, all right. What's he up to around here?" Sandy, glad that they had escaped injury, could only look puzzled. Annie raced back to Daddy's office, and she burst in at the door. He waved her away. He was busy on the phone. "But Daddy, it's awful important. You ought to know." "Shh, not right now, Annie. Daddy's busy. Run along and play." "Hello? Hello? Yes, this is Warbucks." He was busy on the telephone. "Course," said Annie in one last effort, "if you're just not interested in hearing about J. Gordon Slugg being in the woods a mile from here." "What's that, Annie?" Daddy upset the chair. He tossed away the phone, and he sprang to his feet. "Slugg in the woods? What are you talking about? Quick, out with it." "I saw him in a big black car. They nearly ran over me." "Where? What was he doing? Are you sure it was Slugg?" "Which way was he going?" Daddy was excited. "Out on the little road, back of the plant. He was going that way." "And his car nearly ran over you? Well, that settles one thing." What's that, Daddy? There's a 12-foot fence around this whole place, and all along the fence are guards. Well, you're not to step outside of that fence, Annie. Not for anything. Yes, sir, replied Annie meekly. She had seldom seen Daddy Warbucks so serious. Daddy called in the grounds manager at once. Jack, hire more guards if you need them. See that our outside fence is patrolled night and day. Don't let anyone in who hasn't business in the plant. Gee, said Annie, aside to Sandy. If I hadn't been out in the woods, Daddy wouldn't know Slugg had been snooping around. But 'cause I saw him in the woods, I can't go outside the big fence anymore. What a bum break that is. Hey, Sandy? Agreed the dog. Join me again next time for Chapter 7, Survival of the Fightingest. Thank you for watching. See you next time.